Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or at least I hope it's a good morning. Today is February 28th, 2016, and we are back with another episode of First Period. I am a little under the weather, so I apologize first and foremost. I'm saving a lot of my energy and my face, if you will, for the world of relegation, since we've got that going on. Europe ended their relegation yesterday. North America continues today. It's phase number 2 of relegation out of 3, which means we've gotten a lot of the necessary agita and nonsense out of the way with respect to the open bracket. And now we moved on to sort of the acceptable competition level, right? Challengers versus the winners from the open bracket. And then phase 3, I expect to be, or should be, relatively competitive. And then moving on from there, we've got the SPL, which is really what it's all about. That's what I'm the most excited for. I'm excited to check out how everything really shapes up and what we're looking at. Because right now, a lot of people... Actually, not a lot of people. Right now, I'm sitting here saying, I am very interested in the Season 3 meta, whether it's starts or picks or itemization or this, that, and the third. And frankly, I just don't think we're seeing anything worthwhile yet. I mean, how a bunch of players build in an open bracket tournament against a bunch of players that are building in an open bracket tournament doesn't really do anything for me. So we'll have to see how the real pros reflect. And speaking of pros and relegation and all that nonsense, we have a guest caster this weekend. It's Allied, which has been a lot of fun. Allied's shown up and done his little bit. We did a little bit of conversation with him during the week, so we were lucky enough to get Allied to come along. And as I said, he's a guest. He is our humble guest during the weekend, so it's a lot of fun. He is casting alongside myself, Hinduman, and Adonis, since DM Brandon is just getting batty off of butterbeer. He's down in Harry Potter World. Originally went down to Florida for some charity stuff. Good for him. He was getting some charity tournaments going on and raising money for a good cause as far as like children with cancer and stuff. So because of that, Brandon is not available for commentary this weekend. So we invited Allied here, which was a lot of fun. And then Adonis actually was making some new content, so there's Smite content all over the place. I'll link you to some of those videos a little bit later on. And then moving away from Smite, I do want to talk a little bit about Dota, Dan's game. But I do want to talk a little bit about Dota and the world that is Dota, because Dota is very interesting. But so we start off. I guess today is a perfect day to start off. You start off with me and my yawning, and I am relatively not feeling too hot, actually. I had a fever earlier in the morning, around like 4 a.m. So, my plan is to do first period sleep, and then go to work, do the first couple of games, and then, well, not sleep, kind of just hope nothing goes wrong. You know what I mean? So we're rooting for some easy peasy day today, which honestly, looking at the docket, it's North America. It should say Smite, honestly. It shouldn't say Hearthstone. I don't know where you would get that. Let's see, twitch.tv/fswag. We'll double check. But, yeah, it says Smite. You're high. But anyway, yesterday was European relegation. Nothing too surprising, honestly, if you ask me. Leftovers took on Team Astro, which was a good matchup. Torpedo Gaming took on Team Loyal, which was a terrible matchup. Torpedo was so good, and I think a lot of people expected this out of Torpedo Gaming, or at least the ones that knew what was going on. This is a team that sort of came out of the Challenger Cup, and I mean, this is a team that almost made it into the SPL originally. And not for nothing, I mean, these guys are, you read me the roster, and these guys are for sure going to the SPL. In fact, so much so that Murder, previously known as Kanye Life, leaving Titan, joined this team. So while everybody was looking for, what do you mean the team was in the SPL? Well, everybody was looking for, an SPL team to join, or a hot, team to really be a part of. Kanye Life was like, dude, these guys are a shoe into the SPL. Let's go for it. So Kanye Life, now known as Murder, joins up, and they frankly murder the competition. So they jump in. Murder, Moex, Carino, who didn't play yesterday. Brodus did, worth noting. Ninja Bobat and Game Hunter. It's been a strong look as far as that's concerned. The Night's Watch, they've had some roster changes for sure since the Night's Watch. The Night's Watch was a fucking terrible team. This is not a terrible team, so I think it's really unfair to call them the Night's Watch when they've changed. I guess Game Hunter joined Night's Watch a while ago, but Kanye Life joining the situation is a big deal. Cherio left as well. I don't know. They've had a lot of changes as far as that's concerned, and now they look like a team that can actually compete, as opposed to the Night's Watch when they got wrecked. So I think it's a little bit of a different story. They had the Wolf of the Night's Watch was Game Hunter in the solo lane, Ninja Bobat in the jungle. Then you had Wolf of Elo Street, Carino, and Moex. They swapped out Wolf of Elo Street for, as I said, Murder, which is a really big step up. I guess at the end of the day, this is the same team. I forgot that Game Hunter had joined the squad. But as I said, hopefully they forget about their name, because the Night's Watch was an awful team. They were garbage. They did not win much, if at all. And Torpedo, on the other hand, looks completely different. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Because as far as relegations are concerned, it worked out very, very well. So I'm sure the guys on Torpedo are not really complaining. Who they will face later on has yet to be determined. It's up to the SPL teams to really figure out who they want to face and see where they want to go from there. Leftovers beat Team Astro as well. This was a very close match, or at least closer than Torpedo was. Leftovers is the team, if you're unfamiliar, Leftovers is the team that comes out of Badja, and where he and his team land. They are Nika, Jungler, Cherio, Arkil, and Badja. Oh, wow, they're managed by Luna Little. I had no idea. So, there you go. But in any event, this team looked really strong. Fails is the one that renamed to Jungler, so that's a thing for whatever it's worth. Adonis and I had some fun at Fails' expense yesterday, making fun of the name. Arkle is not a name change. No, Arkle has been playing for a while. He's just a decent player. He was on the Myrmidons, believe it or not, once upon a time, so he is French. Not that you have to be French to be in the Myrmidons, but he did exist on Myrmidons once upon a time. So Arkle didn't really... So, yeah, he had a name change as far as having a funky letter or whatever, but it's not a name change. That's how good he is. And he hasn't really... He's just been one of those members of the Challenger Cup scene, sort of like a famous hate, I guess. Somebody that's there. He's played a little bit at SPL level, but really just one of those in-betweeners, if you will. Why would you think that, Phi Toon? Why on earth would you think that? So yeah, Arkil is a player, and I gotta focus on how to say these players' names, because apparently apparently, we're supposed to understand, or commentators are just supposed to know how people pronounce their names, which is pretty stupid. I was told to kill myself. I was told to never cast again. I was told all sorts of egregious things, not just this week, but last week as well, because I mispronounced some people's names wrong. Nika, for what it's worth, I have gotten right every single time. But apparently our kill and Zigox is how you pronounce these names. So Zigox is actually grammatically incorrect. If you're going to follow the rules of English, it's incorrect. And basically, as a commentator, what I do is I'm going to read your name because names are all made up, right? And, like, proper names are all made up. So I'm going to read your name the way English dictates me to. Zigox, Z-I-G-O-X, that's Zygox, because there's a single consonant separating your two goddamn vowels. So if I get it incorrect, don't come to my house. Don't come to my house and yell at me and tell me how stupid I am and how commentators shouldn't have a job and how Adonis needs to get fired because he's pronouncing Zigox correctly. If you want your name pronounced a certain way, tell people. And don't tell people to kill themselves if they get it wrong. In fact, if that's the way you're going to be, I'm never going to fucking say your name correctly. Ever. Shouts to Zygox. No, Zigox has been nice. There's been a couple of people that are just ridiculous. You want something pronounced a certain way, just reach out to the people. Don't tell us to kill ourselves. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's out of this world. That's out of this world. So, neither here nor there. Little angry about the zig-a-zig. I don't know. Very funny. North America. We have yet to see competition coming out from there. Yet at all. And we'll see Neil Ma versus Team Flex. And so here's the deal. Yeah. So Nika, I was saying correctly. Zigox, I was saying incorrectly, but corrected myself once it was brought to my attention. And Rapio, I'm not going to call him Rapio. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to call him that name. He's Rapio. If it's one of those things where, like, if you name your character Gay, I'm going to tell you to name change that shit. Right? Like, I'm not going to call you Gay. If your last name, like, if you're Rudy Gay and your last name is Gay, you know what? Fine. If your last name is Rapio, sure. That's unfortunate for you, but that's what I'm calling you. But it sounds too close to the word rape. And that's not something that I want to be called. That's not something I want to call during a game. I don't want to be sitting here screaming Rapio. It's just not, it's not kosher to me. Like I said, unless that's your given name, then we have no problem. But it's not. So get the hell out of here. I'm calling you Rapio. So, I mean, that's just, that's how I'm going with it. The EU scene is more savage than NA. No, the EU scene is filled with more fuckboys than NA. I'm always dealing with nonsense from the European fuckboy squad. And you know what? Shouts to whatever his name used to be, Dylan and D. Freddy. Dylan was actually nice yesterday for the first time in a decade. I'm not stupid enough to actually think it was out of the kindness of his heart. But it wasn't that... It wasn't over the top malicious. People were just... toying with me, I suppose. So, Europe in general has this little, and I don't mean everybody. I mean there's this little group of people. There's this little group of people that just have never been right in the head. And unfortunately, I used to think they were. But the European scene has a little, it's funny. The North American scene used to have the Collusion Funhouse. And for what it's worth, the Collusion Funhouse has sort of grown up and moved on. Right? Dr. Elo, now known as Drelo. Wubbin, who'll be playing this weekend. So, we've got, those people have generally grown up and moved on. Scary D still exists, but hey, nobody's perfect. Europe, on the other hand, still have this meme squad that thinks it's hilarious to be savage or whatever the fuck that means. So, I don't know. When it comes to the communities, there still are some cancerous growths that probably need to be excised. But that's neither here nor there. North American relevant players, Neil Ma versus Team Flex, and Risky Behavior will take on Problem Solved. Problem Solved is absolutely out of this world. This is a team that I predict will 100% go on to the Pro League. I don't think there's anything stopping Problem Solved from really doing it. This is the team out of Jigs and what was Meerkat, but now Baskin. I mean, this is a good team. So, Problem Solved will be taken out. Problem Solved will be taking on, I should say, and maybe taking out Risky Behavior, which is Famous Hate and Wubbin, and then a couple of other players that I guess if you study the scene super well. Veriziel, Venenu, that name is new to me, Venenu, and Marauder, who actually is, Marauder has an interesting tale. Worth noting that these teams can show up with rosters different today, so they haven't signed in yet. They might be able to show up with a different roster, but this is the one that's on the, that's on their last check-in. So, Rip Meerkat, put your F's in the chat. I'll do that as well. I feel for Meerkat. On the other side, we've got Neil Ma versus Team Flex. Now, Neil Ma is actually this is a strong team. I think that Neil Ma will put up some competition for Team Flex, and I think it's a possibility that Team Flex doesn't win here. So, like I said, I mean, Risky Behavior, much respect to them. They've put in a lot of work. Famous Hate and Wubbin have been around the scene forever. Marauder slightly as well. And, they get all the respect that they deserve. However, I think Problem Solved is going to make quick work of them. I think that Problem Solved will make quick work of them. Team Flex versus Neil Ma, on the other hand, I don't know if Team Flex comes out. Nobody 3-0s anybody here in this situation. I think that both of these teams have a chance to win. If anything, I think that Neil Ma has a nudge in the right direction, but I think that this is very even as far as these games are concerned. Worth noting that some of Flex played Black Desert pretty late today or last night, so that might impact their play a little bit. That's worth noting. Flex have a spot though. No, nobody has a fucking spot until relegations are over. And then once relegations are over, Hi-Rez will assess the empty spots by way of an internal process that has been revealed. You guys can read all you want on esports.smikegame.com and figure out everything you want about how these teams will secretly wind up in the SPL. But as far as I am concerned, at the moment, relegations are still going on, and I don't care about any of the open spots. Once we get there, we will reassess. But, I mean, this is exactly the reason. I absolutely hate I hate the idea that people sort of sit here and go, but they're still in the league, blah, blah, blah. That's phase 2. That should have sort of never been revealed. And that bothers me. But in the interest of helping our players, since they were all whining and crying about lack of information, we decided to show the information. And then they whined and cried about showing the information, and that's a completely different story. But basically, at the end of the day, relegations are happening right now. As for what will happen with the other spots, people, y'all can read. Y'all can read. You know what I mean? If Team Flex gets in via relegation, then it's a much different story, and things become very interesting as far as filling those spots are concerned. So for right now, I just hope everybody plays to win. As for Neil Ma versus Team Flex, I think, it is interesting that Team Flex stayed up pretty late. That we take it on Neil Ma, which is tough. What up, Marauder? Marauder 46. So this is a player that when I first entered the Smite scene, Marauder was sort of just a stream monster. He was just hanging out in streams, much like myself, hanging out in streams, saying what up. He was one of those guys that you recognize just from stream chats and the world of fats and juice and all that stuff. And after a while, I don't know what happened. He kind of disappeared, and then I saw his name popping up on all these Challenger Cup rosters. So very cool stuff, man. You and I have not spoken for a while, but I'm glad to see you doing your thing. It's a lot of fun watching somebody sort of ascend that situation. So I enjoy that. Moving on, away from relegation, as we'll have those matches for you today. Shouts to Bidoof with the hot sub. Thank you for supporting the stream. That's number 40. If we get 10 more, we get new emotes, believe it or not. Hell yeah, you got your dog back. And you got your gun back. Put some guns in the chat. Put some guns in the chat for your man Bidoof. Allied has been guest casting with us this weekend. It's been a lot of fun. And that's it. Basically, DM's on vacation. Or that's a lie. DM has been on a business trip. It's just when people go to Disney World and Harry Potter World, it's feels very, very vacation-like. But Lydia, also on the hot sub. Thank you so much, my friend. Lydia, of course, is the manager and the Lady Gaga impersonator for Paradigm. Co-owner as well. She's touring all sorts of U.S. cities for esports talking. I don't know. Apparently, she's got something good to say about esports. I don't really know what insight she could have at all, but if you go to like South by Southwest or whatever the fuck, I don't know, wherever your book tour is landing, I'm sure on Oprah at some point, but Lydia will be around the US. You can go get her autograph someplace if she stops in your town. So shouts to Lydia. Thanks so much for the love. So Brandon is on a business trip down in Florida. It was actually a really cool charity push coming out from him. Brandon, he was invited down as part of a charity drive, and you saw it. He made use of it on 12-Hour Mondays. He did a stream where a lot of his benefits went to a charity. Excuse me. And I don't know, they gave out like Naruto codes or something. So because of that, Brandon is not available this weekend. Hinderman and Adonis remembered last year what it was like when Bart and Brandon traveled, and we didn't want to cast all weekend with just 3 people. So we invited Allied since he lives pretty close. And because of that, Allied came along. He commentated with us. Now, I mean, he's no stranger to the microphone. Obviously, he what's it called? He has streamed in front of thousands of people before. He understands it. He's played on a big stage, so he gets the whole what's it called? Stage fright thing out of his way. He understands the whole like, oh well, can't be like this, can't curse or whatnot. None of this is news to Allied. So it's pretty sweet. Easy transition. He was on the analysis desk at Worlds #1 back in 2015. So he's been there. And I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, commentary is really about having a personality that people want to hang out with or connect with at the very least. And Allied is very much that guy. one of the things that I like about Allied, and one of the things that I stress to Allied, is sometimes we bring pros up there. Sometimes we bring pros into the caster booth. We've seen it a lot, specifically at events, and everybody gets like, "Hello and welcome to the SPL. My name is Pro Player, and I really like the fact that they used Genji's guard." Like, and unfortunately, that's just not how it works out. So, when it comes to commentary, because full disclosure, Allied, came to the studio and practiced with us over the week, just to like, hey, we know you can do this, but can you show us that you can do it? And, one of the things I told him, I was like, dude, just be Allied. Just be Allied. As far as being the host and being the professional guy, like me and Hindu Man will carry. We'll do that, right? And I mean, I am the professional guy. I'm the hello and welcome to the SPL, but you can still see F out of there. You can still see me, and that's like what is important about it, right? Genji's guard is really not as good. So when it comes to Allied, a lot of what he has to do is just be Allied, and when people listen to my commentary, they want X, Y, Z. When people listen to Allied's commentary, they just want Allied. Allied could say 100% incorrect stuff, and people would still like Allied. So when it comes down to it, I was like, dude, just say whatever you want. If it's incorrect, we'll save you. If you forget what to say, we'll save you. Just be Allied. And I think you really took that to heart. I was very impressed with him yesterday, and what I really liked Allied was that a lot of times people will shy away from being themselves as far as their opinions are concerned, and I mean that was a problem for me when I first came in. And Allied doesn't have this issue because when I first started casting, nobody really knew who I was outside of the original first period members, so everybody was just kind of like, who is this F. guy? And anytime I said something that disagreed with the common knowledge or my co-caster, I would just get shit on in the chat because I had no resume. Even if I was correct, but people are stupid. So that's sort of what you deal with. With Allied, he doesn't have that situation. So he's able to just come in and be himself and have those ideas. So yesterday, for example, when he had an issue with a build, he just said it flat out. He was like, "What? I don't like this build. It doesn't work." So because of that, Allied gets a gift of really coming into the conversation and being able to be opinionated, since his resume is that of a pro player. Hey, I was a pro. I can comment on this, that, or third. And he did it in a very Allied way. He did it in a very Allied way when he said and that's one of those things where our commentators all have our styles. You can find something that DM would say that the other three wouldn't say. You can find something like something that DM would say is bringing up, I don't know, getting to lane 3 steps too slow, right? DM's gonna say that. The three of us aren't really going to say that. Destruction gets borrowed, but that's a DM term, right? Adonis says things that the other three of us aren't going to say. For example, he'll talk a lot about his time. Like, if you hear somebody talking about their time on Reason Gaming, that's Adonis, right? Hindu Man is going to bring up Banta. And I'm going to create some, elaborate metaphor that, when you actually think about it, actually works. Or some pop culture reference out of my asshole, right? Allied is Twitch chat. Allied comes in, he goes, "What is this build? Dan's game. I don't like this," right? And chat goes nuts. So I like the way everybody's got their own thing, and Allied has its own thing outside of just being a pro player, which I think is a lot of fun. No, fuck you guys. I haven't said stuff after the stuff in a long time. But thank you for recognizing the catchphrase. I appreciate it. But Allied being able to bring something besides pro player into the conversation is a lot of fun. Sometimes, believe it or not, pros can be very one-dimensional. And you bring them into the booth and you're like, "All right, man, so what are you about? What do you do?" And they're like, I'm a pro player. And you're like, all right, sweet. So, what do you like? What are you? And they're like, I'm a pro player. And you're like, geez, you don't have any, like, you don't exist outside of that. So, Allied is just a guest for this weekend. Allied is a guest for this weekend in place of DM Brandon, since he is not around. Brandon was doing a charity drive down in Florida, and then he moved on to become a wizard and spent a lot of time at Harry Potter World. So, what up, again? I miss Bart too, but Bart is having a hell of a time. Bart is having a hell of a time at the old Google, YouTube world, all that nonsense. Bart's doing it well, and honestly, I think I'm doing the commentary. I think commentary is doing really well. So this past couple of weeks have really enjoyed what was going on. Brandon and I have really gelled together, in my personal opinion. And I had the opportunity to cast with Kevin for the first time in a while, which was a lot of fun. But I think that Adonis makes quite a bit of mistakes. I don't know why you would say that. I don't think so. Especially when it comes to numbers and stuff like that. Adonis is like super on point. Bart is not having a great time. He hangs around Nade Shot and shit. I haven't seen him with Nade Shot, but I have seen him with Bart went to the NBA All-Star Weekend, which I am eternally jealous. Still eternally jealous. So it's been a lot of fun. Moving on from Allied casting, as I said, he's just a guest caster. I wanted to touch upon some Dota stuff. We'll move on to Q&A in a little bit. I just wanted to mention this. I don't know how many I don't know how many Dota fans there are in the audience, but Dota has one of their majors going on right now. It's Shanghai. It is it's one of the bigger ones. Let's see. Steefy Beefy. Why are you linking this to me? God damn it, Steefy. So Dota got a major that's going on in Shanghai, and it's been absolutely nonsense. It has been not good. Production has been trash. It just in general has not been strong. And I don't want to be that guy that says, "Hey, look at that mess up." I don't want to be all that dude. But Brandon brought up a good point that says, "Hey man, if you're gonna bash on Smite for having poor production, look at what goes on with Dota and how much more money they have." And I can't find the video here, but NFL switcher messes up. But the NFL even had an issue very recently, like yesterday, where their switcher, where their production was just going absolutely awful. They had actually a conversation when the casters thought they were off air, which is not good. And it was kind of funny. I can't find the video, but basically it was the combine. We do a combine in Smite. NFL does a combine, and the wrong mics were on. The casters were sitting there like making fun of the kid that was in the combine and mentioned how he was going to be a quarterback for the Browns. That's like saying, congratulations, this guy's going to be a hunter for Myrmidons. Like, they're not good. And then the switchers matched it up and showing all different like camera angles and shit. And then it just goes color bars and they shut down. Like, what I'm trying to say is that production is hard. A live event is very difficult, and sometimes mistakes happen, and mistakes happen no matter what. Like, mistakes happen from Smite level production to Dota level production to fucking NFL level production, and it can be tough to really, nail. And as far as that's concerned, like a little bit of mic feedback that Smite Production has had issues with does not mean that people need to call for people's jobs online. But talking about the Dota Major, is about this guy named Too Good, or James 2GD. He is a personable presenter, usually in the host role. His job is to do sort of what I do on the desk. His job was to do sort of what Golden Boy did at SWC, and I guess a little bit of what Sean Charles did at SWC. If you remember SWC 2015, it's what I did. A lot of what the host does is sort of facilitate when things are bad. Really long and really long delay, and that's what I'm going to get into. It's the host job to sort of fill time when things go bad, and it's the host job is to facilitate a conversation when things are going fine. No, Kalanesh, I do what I want. And basically, what it comes down to is sometimes in esports there are long delays. Long delays happen because of the nature of the games, whether it's a technical issue or it's just bracket issue or whatnot. Long delays are what happens with esports. That's just the way it works. There really isn't a way around it when in a tournament structure, because you have to wait until other rounds go on, etc. So what winds up happening is you get, when you're that guy, you get in your ear, we are done with the analysis segment, but we're tossing to you 5 minutes, Xbox room, go. And you're like, what the fuck? Hello, welcome to the Xbox room. My name is F. We're going to do a tour around here. We've got Gandhi over, blah, 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 blah. So a lot of that is sort of on the cuff, on the fly. That was my first world, so it was a lot of fun. It was James's job to do that, as well as facilitate the conversation on the analyst desk. And to James's credit, he did a lot of work putting things together. He created a couple of segments. He brought a whiteboard. He created a couple of segments like what team would you like to be on? He created some talking points for the analysis desk, etc. And it wound up being pretty good. I enjoyed the coverage. I am a casual Dota fan at best. I usually don't watch anything but the international, but honestly, to be completely honest, people were tweeting about the horrible production about this major, so I decided to tune in. So that's what I did, and I enjoyed it. But so what James does is, James is controversial, is probably a heavy term for it, but James is James. He is just himself. He started off the show with a pornography joke. Probably not in best taste. He was told to tone it down. He did. Blah, blah, blah. But James apparently rubbed some people the wrong way. And Gabe Newell, the big Gabe N, posted on Reddit, James is an ass. He's been an ass, and we won't work with him again, which totally sucks. James the next day came by with a big document about, hey, I'm not an ass, and I did what you told me, and that sucks. Is he the Thorin of their casters? I wouldn't say so. Thorin gets a lot of flack for being opinionated, if you will, right? Thorin gets a lot of flack for being opinionated, much like a DM Brandon, in the sense that this is my opinion, fuck you if you believe it or not, this is how we're doing it. James, on the other hand, who's a host for Dota, he's just a spicy figure. Think like a Russell Brand or a Ricky Gervais, in the sense that the things that he says, not everybody loves, but the majority of people do, and, he's a fan favorite. And basically, it's just very interesting to know that, James was a fan favorite. He was one of the things that the people in the Dota audience watching the Shanghai Major enjoyed the most. He had there was positive threads on Reddit about him. There was positive tweets about him. And the company still said, go away. Which, man, that is like my least. I don't want to be that guy. I tweeted, I was like, this is approaching worst nightmare material for me. I would never want to be that guy sitting there going, Gabe N. Steam and Valve just called me an ass and said they won't ever work with me again. That's really sad. That's really sad. And like I said, that's like approaching worst nightmare territory for me. Like, I don't know, man. I hope I never have to deal with that. That would be absolutely awful. So hopefully James gets the recognition he deserves from the scenes outside of Dota, because like I said, he's a great personality. When it comes to Dota, there are a lot of personality. So there are a lot of personalities in the world of Dota. But I hope that James continues on and finds something else. And you're right, Teevil. There's got to be more to the story than what's been made public. There's 3 sides to every story, right? Side A, side B, and the truth. So Gabe basically said, hey, this guy's an ass. He's always been an ass. See you later. And James was like, hey, I'm not an ass. I was asked to be myself. I was myself. Please don't call me an ass. I wasn't a douchebag behind the scenes. Who knows? Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. I don't really, It's just one of those things that I don't know the information. I don't need to know the information. All I know is exactly what was made public, and I can wish the guy the best. So, what do I think about Thorin on Smite? I don't think Thorin's ever said anything about Smite. I would love it if he got involved. Thorin's one of my favorite people in the esports scene, but I don't think he's ever really commented on anything Smite. I think he might have mentioned the game once or twice on a passing comment on Inside Esports. Or Insight on Esports, his show Monte Cristo way back when, but I don't think Thorin has much to say about Smite. So, I don't know. In general, it's just one of those situations where, like, as a host, I feel for him. That totally sucks. He was asked to be himself, did that, got fired for doing exactly what he was asked of, and, well, rip that guy, essentially. Fuck Dota. I don't like the game. I don't like the game. I'll be honest with you. I don't like the game of Dota. It's not my style. Neither the game nor the league structure. For example, I don't like League of Legends either. They're all click to move bullshit, isometric nonsense. But the league structure of LCS is fun to watch. I don't necessarily like the game. I don't care about Baron or Dragon or any of that. But I had a ton of fun watching CLG take on TSM in the Nationals, in the National Championship last year. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was awesome. It was so much fun to watch. I love the league structure, right? Immortals, they lost last week. I actually follow LCS a little bit. I'm just not going to watch it. I'm just not going to watch it. Smite's one of the few MOBAs that I can actually like, that I can actually watch. It's one of the only MOBAs I can actually watch. Regional championships, the same thing. Depending on what you want to call it. They're all regional championship. They're all conference championship games, whether you want to call it a conference or a regional. No, they weren't. Those weren't relegations. Those were the North American Regional Championships held at Madison Square Garden last year. Do I feel like esports casters should be more professional? I don't know what you mean by that, Sith Kitty. I think esports commentators, the good ones, are professional. I don't think that. So I don't like esports casting. One of the reasons I got into commentary for esports was because I didn't like how silly the commentary was for Smite at the time. Smite was commentated by Squiddish, who sucks, and Drybear, who was working with Squiddish, and it was commentated by Lionheart and Bart. And Lionheart and Bart were great. Squiddish sucked. And everybody sort of played down to this laughing and joking. And that's good. But that's good in context. I don't think that esports should be straight up. And I don't think that esports should straight up be, hello and welcome to the game. And I think that a lot of esports fans don't recognize how much fun that traditional sports has. And I think that's a big deal. When people think traditional sports, they think like a stuffy guy in a suit that looks like their college professor that's there to say, well, you see, Bob, the reason this play was correct was because Jimmy Jones moved from the outside to the right and took down the presenter. Now let's look at the instant replay presented by Cheetos. And here we are, thanks Aaron Andrews. Like, that's not what traditional sportscasting is. Like, traditional sportscasting is more buttoned up than esports casting. But to say that traditional sportscasting is over the top professional like what I just did is to say that esports casting is LOL, that guy got wrecked. Curse word. While casting in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. Like, the best commentary comes from, and Mollusk, I completely disagree with that, and I would love to know why you hope esports never becomes as commercialized as traditional sports. Because if you're a competitive player, if you're content with making $200 a month, go right the fuck ahead. But I hope that esports gets super commercialized so that our players can make $42 million a year, so that our players can get endorsed by Adidas for life. I'll take commercialization. I'm totally down. You want me to do a commercial for fucking pizza rolls? I'm down. I'm totally down. Like, I don't understand that mentality. I've never understood that like thought process. So I don't know. So when it comes down to like commentary, PBM brings up a fantastic point. Is that the TNT guys who do basketball every Thursday? Seriously, homework. Go watch the TNT broadcast of basketball. And every Thursday TNT broadcasts 2 games. And I'm not telling you got to watch a game you don't care about, but try to tune in during the halftime show. These guys just have fun. Like, these guys just have fun. They do instant replays of Shaquille O'Neal falling down. They have a segment called Shaq Did a Fool, where they bring up the most hilarious highlights, as opposed to like real strategy. And then they do the real strategy. And there's room for both. So, should esports commentary be more professional? I will say yes, but it depends on who you're asking, or who you're what's it called? It depends on who you're talking about. For example, I think that Smite commentary in general is pretty good. There are spots where sometimes I cringe that, don't shit on the game that we're commentating, which doesn't happen. That's been a direction that we've been moving towards since last year. No inside jokes and this, that, or third. But, professional commentary. You can put on a suit and have fun. I don't believe in a world where people don't wear suits. And actually, that is one of my crowning achievements. Listen, nobody's going to tell you that FDOT is the reason that Smitecasters wear suits. And maybe I'm not. But all I know is that people were wearing whatever the hell they wanted on these commentary back when I started casting, when I did my first cast for Smite. I was brought on for a weekly. And they sent me a green screen and everything, and they said, hey, okay. And I was like, yo, what am I wearing? What do we have to wear? And Bart said, wear whatever you want, dude. Like, t-shirt. Like, don't say anything like, don't just wear whatever you want. I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna wear a suit. And Bart was like, straight up, suit's probably too much. And I was like, I'm not gonna wear a t-shirt. Can I at least wear a polo? And he was like, okay, sure. And so I put on a nice Tommy Hilfiger polo and blah blah blah, and Bart had to do the same, and Bart rocked the polo, and then the second week I was like, look, I'm wearing a suit. Like, I'm gonna wear a suit. I'm going to wear a suit. And he was like, okay. And then the next week, he and I were in suits. And that was sort of like the push from then on. So, like I said, I'm going to take credit for the move to suits. I'm sure it was something that would have happened eventually, and maybe it came from the top down, and it happened to be in that same week. But I like the idea of wearing a suit. And the reason I like that is because it creates an atmosphere. It just says, hey, I'm serious about this. Like, if you go into a job interview for a job that you don't have to wear a suit for in the everyday, outside of blue collar, if you're, going to be a mechanic, it's whatever. And even then you better look nice. But if you're going on a job interview to some place that doesn't require you to wear a suit every day, you should still look nice. If you're coming to, like, I'm telling you right now, if you come to a job interview at Hi-Rez Studios, I go to work looking like this. Some people wear sweatpants to the job, right? As long as you get your job done and you're not naked, what the hell is Hi-Rez going to say? But if you come for an interview, I'm not saying you got to wear your Brooks Brothers, but you at least got to be, respectably dressed, because it shows that you are serious about something. And I think the same thing goes for stuff like esports. If esports is saying to the bigger world, hey, take us seriously, which we should be. On one hand, you don't pander to anybody except for yourself, and on the other hand, you do want to attract outside eyes, because money is bigger, right? So all those people saying, oh, fuck that, we can be esports, we don't need ESPN, or we don't need all this and that. You guys want European lands, right? You guys want a league like LCS where everybody plays on LAN 100% of the time, right? Guess where that comes from? Money. Guess where money comes from? Outside people. Guess when outside people look? When you start taking yourself seriously. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where dressing the part can do a lot. And in the same vein, dressing in a suit doesn't necessarily stop you from having fun. Like I brought up the TNT guys, they have fun, it's their job, and we have fun here. I think that we have fun in the world of Smite commentary, and I think that while it could be more professional, I think that the professional full shorts of Smite commentary have more to do with just learning how to be better commentators than egregious mistakes or whatnot. You know what I mean? So I think it's fun. So the original question was, do I think that esports commentary should be professional? Yes, I definitely do. But I don't think that professional needs to be a bad thing. Professional doesn't mean no fun. Professional doesn't mean stuffy and zero jokes. Professional just means presented in a certain light. So, I don't know. I do agree with that. I don't like inside jokes. I don't like cursing. I don't like slop. I think that's really what I mean by professional. So, Greggy. So anyway, little bit of a short show, just an hour. Figure we go to Q&A. Figure we go to some Q&A stuff. You guys have any questions? I saw a couple of questions in the chat earlier on that I couldn't really address. I was on a thingamajigger. Why no skins in the SPL? Won't it help sales? No, it won't help sales. The numbers have been done by people smarter than you, and it just doesn't. So no skins. Here's what I ask you. Everybody says, oh, well, duh, the new player will be able to, like, new viewers will be able to see that it's just a skin. Go watch an Overwatch stream. Tell me if you can recognize all those characters. Go watch any, if you're unfamiliar with League or Dota, right? Go watch a stream where there's skins. Tell me you can recognize every single character while you're trying to learn the characters in the middle of the game. It's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. So, no skins. It's just better for the viewer. How long does the regular pro stay in the pro scene? Majority of pros have been the majority of pros have been in since, sort of the beginning of Smite. Once you're in, you're in. Because the level of competition, has to rise, and most players will rise with that because they're practicing with it. What's missing from the Oceanic scene that a pro player could provide? Just content, Ro. I think that's a big deal. I recap the NAEU and a little bit of the Oceanic, but I'm, not number one on that info. I recap a lot of what happened over the weekend, just recaps, whether it be predictions. As a player, I think predictions can be a lot of fun. If you just, because predictions do two things. One, they raise your level, Ro, as an individual. Hey, I know Ro from that team. Sweet. He's got something to say. Let me check it out. Two, it lets people know what's going on about the scene. Hey, I don't really know about the OCE, but Ro put out a new video and he's talking about Dire Wolves taking on Avant-Garde. Holy shit! I gotta check out that. I gotta check out that game out this weekend. I didn't even know that was happening. Thanks to Ro's prediction video, it's there. Helps people out with their season ticket because the season ticket's gonna be a thing. I think I would love for you, or anybody, but I would love for you to put out prediction videos. They're also really easy. Hi, camera. These are the 3 games happening this weekend. I think Dire Wolves are going to win because their jungler is really good. I think Team B is going to win because their mid laner is really good. Like, just do that. I think prediction videos are good. Exception for Little Mana. PAX East this year. Unfortunately, I'm still a little low on the totem pole. I imagine that some sort of Hi-Rez people will be there. I can almost confirm that Brandon will be there. Brandon always makes all of these events. So you'll probably be able to say hi to Brandon. Rate Get Fisher out of 8. A lot of people seem to have beef with Get Fisher. He's like the one European dude I don't have problems with. You're the exception to the rule. As I said, they did numbers over a year. Looking back to like some specific events that were big deals, like, specific big time plays with certain characters at certain big points during events, and it made little to zero impact. There was you could see the 5 people that bought a skin based on that game, but outside of that, nothing really big. Why aren't I playing Black Desert Online like all the other people? I don't know. I thought about it. I talked about it with my guild leader for a second. We decided against it. I'm going to be playing the shit out of the division, though, for sure. Thanks, Yaman. ESL 1. This was a gift from my friend Sean Charles, actually. Shouts to him. What do you do when you're out? Oh, outside of pro playing? Well, it depends. Honestly, you can be a content creator. You can be a streamer, which is sort of the same thing. And I guess you take a look at somebody like SunTouch or Allied, which SunTouch came back in the scene as a pro player, but worth noting that SunTouch retired as a pro player and was a full-time streamer, right? Matty Pocket did the same thing. He wasn't really playing professionally, but he was a full-time streamer. And then some people tack on YouTube to that as well. So Allied is he's doing guest commentary with us. I imagine there's some sort of desire for him to be a full-time commentator, so commentary is something to change to look towards. But the majority of pro players, I would say, probably just get a normal job after Smite. Overwatch by Blizzard should be big in the esports scene. Your thoughts? Maybe. It's not my style game. I don't particularly care for it. I like Paladins, but that's pretty much Hi-Rez makes Paladins, and I play it from time to time because it's on the same launcher. But realistically, if I'm going to play a shooter, I'm going to play Counter-Strike. I'm going to play Halo. I'm going to play The Division. I don't really like that style shooter. Class-based, the closest I'll come is Call of Duty. I don't really like class-based stuff like that. Skins and competitive definitely helps though. I don't know. You guarantee in League of Legends it helps. again, I don't know how you can guarantee something when you don't have the numbers. So, Gandhi, for example, Gandhi was an esports pro. He did commentary and video making after he was done being an esports pro, and now he's a lead game designer, systems designer. He is a valuable asset to our game company. Jerby was an ex-pro. He's now doing Q&A for Paragon or something, right? So it's a lot of like, you can lean on the fact that you are a pro gamer. And I think that as time goes on, that conversation becomes thicker and thicker, because what do you do as a pro gamer 10 years ago? What do you do as an ex-pro gamer 10 years ago? Probably winds up being a GameStop employee or whatever you got your degree in, and I hope you went to college. Now, ESPN covers esports. Now, The Score has an app specifically dedicated to esports. Now, esports is in a different world. So when you look at pro sports athletes, what do athletes do after they're retired? Well, they write, they act, they do commentary, they provide analysis, they do tons of things, because there are tons of jobs in sports. Now, as esports grows bigger and bigger, there will be more and more opportunities in esports related fields, or that make somebody with esports background favorable to have on your team. Like if I'm going to create a game and I want it to be played as an esport, I'm going to hire an ex-professional gamer in the same genre, because they have insight into what I'm doing. What teams do I think will be on top for spring? We'll see what teams are actually there. So, with Hunters being so good again this season, do you think we'll see Hunters in solo or mid again? Doom Orb is stupid valuable. So, having a mage with Doom Orb in the middle lane is stupid good. I don't know if you would trade that out for a Hunter. Solo, sure. Hi-Rez does have plenty of ex-competitive players. Peckies, Adonis, APC. APC is an example. APC was a pro tribes player. And he got hired, and basically he got hired by Hi-Rez to move stuff at PAX. And then he was, filling a desk. And then as esports got bigger and bigger, and it moved on from Bart casting in his house to being a department, they were like, hey, you were a player. You know the scene. You know what it's like to be in a league. You know what you want a league to be. Why don't you just lead esports? That's valuable knowledge that you can't get anywhere else. So I think that's what you wind up having. What you'll wind up with a lot of these pro players is consulting is probably not the term for it, but they wind up using their expertise that you can only get from being, a pro player. What happened with Adonis in the clap? He made a video. I'll link them. He made 2 videos, some actually really good content where he clapped real loud at the beginning. When does the SPL start? Not next week, in a couple of weeks. Why does Adonis not? He's trying to grow the beard, man, and beard's growing weird. You know what? Beard's growing weird. He needs to condition a little bit, and we're working on it. Don't rash Adonis too much for the beard. He's trying to make it work. Things always look worse before they look better. You don't have any guarantee that you'll make it. No, you don't. Welcome to fucking life, dude. What do you do if you don't? You do something else. Nothing in life is guaranteed. You go to college and you get yourself an art history degree and you wind up working at Radio Shack. That's your own damn fault. Nothing is guaranteed. Life is not people don't have safety nets. So, yes, being a pro gamer is a gamble. It totally is. Nobody's saying it's not. Doing what I do is a gamble. If I didn't get hired when I did, I gave myself a 6-month ultimatum. I got hired in February. 6 months away from February, I would have given up and went to college. Because that's the way she goes. If God forbid I lose my job tomorrow, I will approach other companies and help to keep this casting thing going, but there's no guarantee. And that's just the nature. It's entertainment. It's entertainment. What happens to that guy that gets cast in a movie? What happens to Lilo Ren, right? He gets cast in a movie. Think about the guy that played Anakin Skywalker in the second Star Wars, right? He gets cast in a movie. Hooray! I'm sure he had other jobs that nobody gave a shit about. What does he do? Does he have enough money to live forever? Maybe it was fucking Star Wars. But realistically, not everybody does that in Star Wars. They do it in Meet the Parents. What about the guy that starred in Meet the Parents 3? Right? He had an hour's worth of speaking lines. And then he never gets a job again. What does he do? Well, what if he never gets a job again, right? Entertainment is not an easy place to have a job, and there is no guarantee for anything. There's no guarantee in traditional jobs either, but in entertainment, even more so. If you want to get a stable job, you don't do this sort of thing. That's just not it. That's just not the career path. And shit, it's 2016. What is a stable job? Would I think esports will be an Olympic sport? I don't know. One of the big things about esports being at the Olympics is a conversation about which esport deserves to be there. Is it a MOBA? Is it a action game like Rocket League? Is it a fighting game like Street Fighter? Is it a shooter like Counter-Strike? I would argue Counter-Strike. Is it a sports game? NBA and Madden are trying to get people to play their stuff at a competitive level. So I think that's the bigger question we have to ask ourselves before esports makes it to the Olympics is what esport, right? How much gum can you have in your mouth before suffocating? I don't know. Are there podcasts besides mine? A couple exist, Sith Kitty. I do know that a couple exist. None that I would really endorse because I don't watch any of them. Because frankly, I think the quality level needs to come up. But there are community members that do things. I know M Target, Smite Central, Remedies, all these people, like they do have, there are podcasts that exist. But none that I particularly watch. I know there are a couple that are coming out. I don't want to say anything about the number one that I'm thinking about. I will probably be on an up and coming podcast that should be regular with some names that you would recognize, but I can't give you any more details than that. And really should theoretically return with the regular season. Cret and I are figuring out a schedule, and we'll see how things go once the regular season starts. Do I have problems with KSP? I doubt it. When you release someone's news, you tend to be disliked. I didn't know that story. I'm assuming this is about Getfisher. I've never had problems with Getfisher. I have a lot of fun with Getfisher. If this is the truth, I probably would change my mind, but I would have to have a conversation with Getfisher about that. I think that this is a disgusting practice. I think that nothing good comes of this, and I think it's a severe mark of your character. So I don't know if it's the truth, and if this is the rumor, I will have a discussion with Getfisher because I think this is disgusting. But I don't know it for sure, and I would hate for any false statements to be associated with somebody. So triple fact check that, I would say. A pro goes in SPL for 2 years. Been only practicing for Smite. What? 4 years? I don't know what you mean. Division is super fun. No F.watch? What are you talking about? I gotta watch. What's the selling point of Black Desert? It's a grindy Korean MMO that doesn't have tab targeting. You think the games today will be closer than EU is today? I think that Neil Mott and Flex will be very close. What are the must-see intense past SPL match, casted or not? Type Shadow Q Jukes into your YouTube. That'll give you one of the best highlights of all time. Type Game Hunter Pentakill. That's a good one. Game 3 European Regionals Season 1. Cloud9 versus Agilitas, then known as Aquila, is one of the best games of all time. I'm pretty sure I got like that the actual game right. Do I think Nika has the talent to make it big? Sure. Hey, question, buddy. Question. I wanted to ask you. Do you actually think it's amazing that I search my name on Twitter and everything I say during a cast to see what people say? For what it's worth, I don't. For what it's worth, I don't. Oh, I gotta hide my. How do I hide my messages? I'll put them over here. For what it's worth, I don't search my name. Most people that run TweetDeck will have, what's it called? Specialized columns. And that's exactly what I do. Here you can see I have just a column that tracks F dot. And so one of the problems is there is a guy named Hose Love F dot, and he is a guy from Brooklyn. Shouts to Canarsie. I know a lot of people from Canarsie. I wonder if I know this guy. And I also get Florida Department of Transportation. So I got to weed through this. And it's not something I like look at all the time, but every now and then, I'm here and then I go, oh, what's over here? And I just like look. So I have fun with it. Oh, no, that's the wrong thing. Shouts to all the people that followed. I appreciate it. There we are. Back again. So here we go. Suntouch is trash. I don't know about that. It's been a while since we see Suntouch play, but I don't think he's trash. You can't really just go studying. You absolutely can. If you quit playing Smite, you can just go studying. I promise you, there are people that just go studying at, multiple points of their life. You can just go studying whenever you want. How does one combine school with Pro Smite? It's very tough, but some people do it. I know that Dimmy is in school as well as doing his SPL stuff, and he just won Worlds. So, what do I think about Nika being the first Pro Smite chick? One, he is not a woman. Two, I think that goes to Ash Bear. Ash Bear played on a competitive level, right? I think Ash Bear and Moji never played competitively, but I think Ash Bear got some time in the sun. And Ulissa was Epsilon sub for a long time, so. Ebonary says once you go pro in one game, it's not hard to replicate if it's kind of similar. I won't agree with this, but I won't disagree with it. There is something to be said. If you're good enough to be a pro at one game, maybe those skills are translatable, but usually not. Best NA and EU team for me? I don't know. There's a lot of players. Thoughts on the risky versus problem solved matchup? Dude, honestly, risky behavior. You guys are great. Much love. I just think problem solved is a behemoth of a team marauder. I just think that they're too good. Amper brings up, DJ Pernicus is going to school. He's to be a doctor, and he plays in the Smite Pro League. So, why do we not see any new teams players at a high level? I feel like there's a lack of newer players playing Smite competitively. They come in and out. It's just that you get to see them. So due to the nature of the league is you see the teams that you see. And then when it comes to time to relegation, you see new faces and stuff. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And then after relegation, it's going to be 3 months of the same faces. So there are newer players. I would implore you to watch the Challenger Cup run by Tier Monster if you really want to see some new Smite faces. Yes, Pernicus is a nurse right now, and he's studying to be a doctor. Actually, I'm not sure if he's a nurse. I know that he works in the ER, so I think he's a nurse. I know that he has like the ability to be a nurse, but he is on his way to be a doctor. He's studying medicine. And yeah, pro gaming, depending on how you word it on your resume, looks really great. Saying, I was the leader of World of Warcraft is probably a poor way to do things. But I have included on my resume that I have led, that I have had a hobby that has put me in charge of 30 plus people to achieve a goal that in competition with millions of people around the world, our goal has been achieved, number 100th in the world. And as a leader of 30 people to try and achieve that goal, that's impressive. Do I have to tell you that it's World of Warcraft? Sure, if we have a conversation about it, but I can create the house that's in. Now, when you're a pro gamer, that's much different. You can all of a sudden say, I was part of a team or I led a team that played video games at a competitive level, but don't laugh at me. We made all this money. It requires these skills. And guess what? The same skills that it takes to be a pro gamer, the idea to follow directions, be a part of a team, accept responsibility for your actions, study what you did wrong and become a better player or person, strategy, intelligence, all of that can be related to the workforce. So you can definitely do that. Do I think MLG has the advantage? I don't know what you mean by that. Please rephrase. I'm actually interested in this question. So, how do you work full-time, study, stream, and play pro? I don't know. I wasn't studying, but I was working full-time, and I was commentating. So, I can't really comment to that. But how do you work full-time, study, stream, and play pro? Ask DJ Pernicus. Ask Dimmy. There are ask Weekend. Weekend's job is now playing and streaming. The ideal is that you don't work full-time, study, stream, and play pro. The idea is you study, play pro, and stream as your job. 1,000 subs is $2,000 plus a month. Like, you get 1,000 subs, you're getting well over $2,000 a month just from sub revenue alone. You're adding ad revenue on top of that. If you're doing things right, you also have a YouTube that you're getting ad revenue off of. Maybe you even have sponsors that are giving you money to put their name on your stream. You stream for 40 hours a week or less, probably 20 hours a week, right? You figure you stream 3 days. You figure you stream 3 hours a day. That's 15 hours just during the week. And then the weekends you go longer, if you will. You scrim for 4 hours a night or whatever the fuck. That's 7 hours a day of Smite. That sounds like a regular day. It's doable. You want to toss study in there? Go right ahead. Weekend goes to college. Pernicus goes to college for medicine. There are plenty of players that understand it. You don't understand it. And maybe that's why you don't do that. A lot of times, accomplishing things in life are less about asking the questions that prevent you from doing it and just doing it and answering those questions as you encounter them along the way. I had tons of questions before I started, and full disclosure, what I do, while it's a lot of work, I don't think it, comes into conversation as to how much work pro players do. I was working full-time at Verizon. I was not going to school, but I was researching schools. And I did start going to school for what it's worth I had gone to school for 1 semester when I got hired by Hi-Rez full-time. And I was traveling, going to events, and I was doing stuff on my own at home, right? So, I mean, yeah, you know what? When I was scheduled at work to be at the same time as a Tier Monster tournament, and I had to ask myself, well, what do you do? And, how do you work scheduled when there's a tournament? Well, you don't. And I said to my boss, I said, hey, look, I have a tournament this weekend. I can't come into work today. Gordon Haywood once told a coach in high school that he couldn't make he couldn't make a game that scouts were going to be at because he had to play in a Halo tournament. Priorities. Who's Gordon Haywood? He's an NBA superstar that plays for the Utah Jazz. Superstar is probably pushing it. But he's an NBA star that plays for the Utah Jazz. So it's really just about priorities. It's really just about prioritization and understanding what it takes to accomplish the goals that you have set in front of you. And, you take a look at some people and what people do, and it's not always black and white. And not everybody has the same go to high school, do extracurriculars, sign up for college, go to college, do extracurriculars, graduate, use your diploma, get a job, die. Not everybody has the same path. Some people get a job, get fired, do nothing for a year, get a job, go to school at 40, figure something out, career change at 35. People do all sorts of different things. And really what it comes down to, if you're going to do a job, like if you're going to be a pro gamer, you have to look at it like being a pro athlete or a pro singer. You're probably not going to make it. But if you do, be prepared to work all the time. All the time. When you get a job at ESPN, they put on the bottom of the page for the job listing, they say, sports happens on holidays, weekdays, and your birthday. Be prepared to work then. That's what it's about. Making sacrifices. If you're an esports star going to school and working a job, guess what? You're not going to that party on Thursday because you got to stream. Guess what? You can't take that cool elective at college because it's 8 a.m. and you got to scrim till 1. Guess what? If you want to be an esports pro, you're not going to be able to study abroad or go on that vacation. These are the sacrifices that you make. And it's a big part of why I think pro gamers mature as quickly as they do. You get a lot of immaturity off the bat because there's a feeling of self-entitlement, but there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of sacrifice that have to be made when you're becoming a pro gamer or anything like that. So, I don't know. Here's an interesting article, by the way. Gordon Hayward, The Case for Gaming, talks a little bit about talking to his coach about a Halo tournament. It is a good read. Gordon Hayward's a great guy. He's spoken a lot about esports. So, why you guys got a gut Xing Chen? I'm not involved in those conversations, but I would definitely agree that there had to be something done. He was picked every game in the solo lane. It was lame. Super lame. Why do we not have any up-and-coming teams with newer, fresh players that have not played the game competitively yet? We do few and far between. Polar Bear Mike is a perfect example to know that still exists. We do the Combine, or Smite does the Combine every year, and a couple of new faces were shown. Nika was shown. He's going to be new to the scene. Yeah, but we knew about him earlier. Shut up. Nika's new to the scene. There are newer people to the scene. You just got to, acknowledge their existence. Has Hi-Rez paid popular streamers to promote their game? I'm sure they have. Standard practice. I don't know any specifics, but I'm sure that this is a thing. This has been a standard practice around the industry for a while, and it's usually not secret, if at all, if ever secret. It's usually right there. I will be playing the Division for PC. I cannot afford a PS4. Do they pay? I have no idea who they, I have no idea. Any tips for people who has a 2.2 GPA in college and he's a junior? Keep going, Pete Lob. Keep going. Your GPA matters after college, but more than your GPA matters, it matters if you actually finished college. I would study harder. 2.2, you don't need me to tell you it's not the greatest in the world, but you're passing, and graduating is more important than not. Oh shit, you're in high school? Dude, do it. Just do it. Same advice. I'd say probably study harder. Your GPA does matter getting into colleges. Study real hard for the SATs or ACTs or whatever the hell you do. I'm gonna show my age real quick. Back in my day, I took the SATs when it was just out of 1600. There was no essay requirement. It was just 800 points for math, 800 points for English. So that's how long ago I took the SAT. But yeah, I would just study hard. And just study hard, get better grades. As a junior, this is probably your biggest year. You want to get all your you want this year to be a really good year, and that sucks because it's already January. But you want your grades in your junior year to be super good. So try your best for that. Join a sport or an extracurricular or something if you want, but don't force it. And then go to a college that you want to go to. That's the biggest thing is that. And I'm speaking as somebody that didn't go to college. And regret is a strong word, but I do wish that I went. And I wouldn't trade my experience. I didn't go to college for a very important reason. I had something else going on. But I do think that the opportunity to go to college after high school is interesting. Because high school is all about learning what they want you to learn. And you, in America, literally have to go to high school. It's the law. College, on the other hand, is for you. if you are not a learner, if you don't want to go to college and you want to be a plumber, go right ahead. Don't let anybody tell you not to. Plumbers make great money. Garbage men make great fucking money. But be aware that there's labor involved, and that's going to be your life, and that's not a negative. And my father was a fireman, not a fire. He was a foreman. When they call it firemen that deal with the boiler system. He's a foreman in a hospital, and he made great money for to support his family, and he was a great father figure. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or a rocket brain surgeon to be successful. It's up to what you want to do. And I am a person that does love education, and I will always support education. So I would suggest for you to go to college and use college to study something that you love. Kret studied philosophy. Studying things like philosophy and things like that won't give you a tangible skill, but it will teach you how to think. And believe it or not, a lot of Fortune 500 companies wind up hiring people with weird degrees like that. Art history. A couple of our game designers have an art history degree, right? Or you could work at a museum. Use college as the medium to learn what you want to learn. You've learned what everybody else wants you to learn in high school. Use college to learn what you want to learn. So my advice to you, Patel, is to just study up, try to bring that GPA up, and go to a college that you want to go to for something that you want to learn. Because I'll be straight up, when classes cost thousands of dollars, it sucks to get dropped from them. Flunking a class in high school is, haha, Mr. Tunkle's a dickhead, he gave me an F. Flunking a class in college is shit that cost me $10,000. So go to college for something that you want. You are, but by no means are you fucked. By no means are you screwed. I put it in perspective. I don't know what my GPA was. We didn't do GPAs in my high school. We did just number grades. I did not have a good grade. I think I graduated high school with. So I wound up going to two high schools, and I wound up graduating my public high school, like traditional high school, with like 72 or something. I got a 1490 out of 1600 on my SATs, and I had like a 72 out of high school. So you're not fucked. If I can have a future, you can have a future. Esports will never be at the traditional Olympics because it's not physical. Neither is curling. Should have genres like, it could be interesting. Could be interesting. Pernicus. We were talking about you earlier, actually. The culling. What is the culling? It sounds like a scary game. I don't like scary games. I don't remember who you're talking about, Funball, but he probably does disgust me. Probably does. Who's the team that plays against Team Flex today? Playing against Team Flex will be Neil Ma. They are Dante LaFargo, Soul Shiner, Jiminy Glick, Panda Cat, Niru Ma. You should recognize Soul Shiner at the very least. He's played in the SPL before. Jiminy Glick, also known as Glickstick, is a player that's been in the Challenger Cup scene for a while, same as Panda Cat, and Niru Ma is a strong player as well. So that'll be a good matchup, honestly. Thanks, Spain Checker. I appreciate it. Where are we? That would be funny. Moji played for Game Changers in the SPL. There you go. I forgot that Moji played for Game Changers. Do you think we'll have a chance of getting another all-girl pro team soon? One, I don't like the idea of an all-girl pro team because I cannot count 5 professional level players that are women. And I think that making some sort of like inclusionary, I think that is no. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of let's make an all-girl team. That's not for me. If I would love to see women step up and play in the pro league. I know that New List is looking for a team. Moji has said that she's not interested in playing professionally anymore, and Ash Bear seems to be far too busy to even think about it. So I don't know. There's also a noteworthy player named Junipera. You can catch her queuing up with XLUX a lot of the time. I don't know. For me, I don't want to see an all-woman pro team because that means that concessions were made to just field women. I think that hopefully there are more women out there than we know that play at a high level and they decide to step into the spotlight. But at the moment, I am always, not even at the moment, I'm always about merit when it comes to pro league stuff. Now, with that said, I would absolutely love to see more women in the pro scene, but don't force it because then it's just silly. Will Smite prize pool to Dota 2 prize pool level? Absolutely not. Hey, for what it's worth, DJ, I said I wasn't sure if you were a nurse. I knew that you were working in medicine or working towards working in medicine as far as school is concerned, and I knew you worked at an ER. But don't be Feels Carrot Man. Don't be Feels Carrot Man. Wait, is this DJ Pern F? Is this supposed to be me? This doesn't look like me. Where are you? This is not me. This is not DJ Pern F. Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't look like that. I'm going to call you a nurse and pretend like it's a bad thing. Hindu man's a nurse. I respect nurses. But I don't look like this. Work in emergency. See? Told you. Work in emergency room and a scribe. All right. There you go. He's going to medical school. This is exactly what I said. It's exactly what I fucking said. Yeah, you know what? Everybody's doing it. I'm going to be 7 years too late, but I'll do this too. Jesus. Yep. Yeah, see? Like I said, I wasn't hating on the nurse profession for what it's worth. Jeez, DJ, everything you say just destroys my chat. For anyone who thinks that you can't go to school, do well, and play pro sports, esports is making an excuse, to be honest. DJ played Counter-Strike for a number of years, and he played Smite while in undergrad, and now he's studying for the MCAT. It's tough, but, it happens. And also, pro sports players also do it, and there are people, who knows how many concessions are made for college athletes, but at the end of the day, college football players have 2 practices a day at the high-level college schools, and they attend school, and sure, like I said, behind the scenes, maybe somebody else does their work. I'm not saying that happens, and to be honest with you, I'm sure that happens less than people think, but if somebody can play for a team and then eventually go to the NFL, that's a huge level of commitment. And they're still going to school. If DJ Perdikas can play 2 different esports on their undergrad and then study for an MCAT and still, perform at a high level, like DJ said earlier, it's an excuse. So, it's an excuse. Why does the companion app suck so bad? Is anyone at Hi-Rez revising it? I'm not sure to both of those questions. I'm aware that it exists, but this reminded me that it existed. I'm sure there's someone revising it at Hi-Rez for the new season, but I'm not sure who. I must figure things out. What'd you miss? We discussed a little bit of the relegation matchups today. We talked a little bit about a host named James 2GD coming from the Dota world, and allied guest casting. Do I believe that acting is possible for unexperienced actors? Yes and no. It's the same thing. I'm an actor, but these days I'm more of a commentator. So I'll talk about this one. I think that it's possible to be an actor and not be experienced. In the same way that it's possible to be a commentator and not be experienced. Anybody can not swear, use good vocabulary, and have decent diction and talk about what's on a screen, but things come from being experienced and educated that you might not get otherwise. Like, I commentated 2 years ago, and I just sort of like screamed and called what was happening, and then I read a couple of books and did a couple of events and learned from people better than I, and now I know to restate the game every X amount of minutes, and I know how to cast a team fight, and I know to mention player names instead of god names most of the time, and stuff like that. So, yes, somebody can get in front of a camera and go, to be or not to be, that is the question, that thy must, but do you actually, one, what happens to a lot of inexperienced actors is they wind up just acting a single role. You see this a lot in voice actors where like, I'm a voice actor. This is the voice I can do, and that's the only voice I can do. Well, then, are you a voice actor, or are you just a guy that does that voice, you know? And I think the same can be said about actors, right? A lot of times you wind up just acting as a alternate version of yourself. And then as you get more experience and learn, you become an actual actor instead of just like, here I am being that guy. So I think the answer is both yes and no. I can still go back to college. Yes, I plan on it, actually. Not this year. This year I'm focusing on personal brand, and I want to do a lot more as far as like streaming and YouTube is concerned outside of commentary job. But I do want to start taking some night classes for broadcast journalism. I will finish a degree in broadcast journalism. I will be traditionally educated in commentary because, as I said, while I can learn from Bart how to invoke excitement without screaming, while I can learn from Brandon breath control and pacing, I learned from a book things like restating the game. I've learned from a book how to properly prepare for commentary for specific casts, and I think that there almost everything in life is learned through a healthy balance of on-the-job training by putting on actual gloves, and off-the-job training, taking those gloves off and writing stuff down that you've learned in a book. I think that there's a happy medium of education from the world and from a book, and I definitely plan on and will go back to school. Because like I said, my goal is to be the best goddamn commentator possible. And I last month spent I don't really get that much money to play around with. I usually get a couple of $100 a month, if that. And last month I spent $200 or $157 on a textbook. For a class that I don't take because I can't afford the class, but I can afford the textbook. And so what I did was I kind of just like found a community college that was teaching out of this textbook, downloaded their syllabus, and read the chapters every week or whatever. And so I've made a push to sort of educate myself in that regard. But I do value a traditional education, and I'm definitely super eager, no pun intended, to get back there. College of Gaming, nah. Fuck Mr. Tunkle. Mr. Tunkle was actually the name of my, they didn't call it shop, what'd they call it? Technology class, which had nothing to do with like computer technology and everything. You bet I didn't go to university because at one moment in your life you just stopped thinking and forgot to start again. Zop QQ, everybody. This guy's a cunt. Shots at curling? No, I was talking about this with Hindu Man. There's no physical aspect to curling. Golf is more of a physical sport. And I got into a conversation on ESPN Radio last week. Last weekend when I came into Relegation, I was screaming on my phone. I was calling up ESPN Radio, and I was on ESPN Radio. They were talking about the Daytona 500 and how NASCAR drivers aren't athletes, and while they're definitely not that athletes, they deserve the respect that athletes deserve, just like pro gamers. And we got in the conversation about golf and curling as they're like somewhere in between. There is less physicality as far as physical exertion and more physicality as far as physical technique, which, if you're looking at Counter-Strike players waving their arms around like this, you could probably say the same thing about Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike probably exists in a world around golf and at least curling. So, what time of the game's being shown today? 1 p.m. Twitch.tv/Smite Game. Culling is Hunger Games. That's interesting. Yeah, I got there. What time does the tournament start? 1 p.m. A little bit earlier, but 1 p.m. is what we're going to show. Mr. Tunkle for English. The Mr. Tunkle I had a flat top and taught me how to build a fish out of wood. He was actually a cool guy. It was Mr. Park that was a dickhead. Am I commentating the games today? Yes, I will be commentating the first match. I'm not sure what the first match will be, but I will be commentating the first match with Allied, and then the second match will be Hindu Man and Adonis. Wasn't Panda Cat in the Spring Split last year. I don't think he played in the SPL, but he played in a high level of challenger. Maybe he did play in the SPL. I'm not too sure. Did I go out last night? I look hungover. I did not go out last night. I'm not hungover. I am a little sick. My tummy hurts. Courage, you're so cute. Which 8 teams am I predicting to make it in the SPL, both NA and EU? Well, the top 6 plus. For EU, I think that Torpedo makes it, and I think that Leftovers make it. For NA, I think that I can't tell you until we see who the SPL rosters are, because I know that Elevate kind of doesn't exist. So I know it's the carrot version, but it's F. Hope this isn't supposed to be me. Look how late I was to the DJ Pernicus spam. Who's playing today? We've got relegation matches. Neil M versus Team Flex and Risky Behavior versus Problem Solved. Whether it's nobler to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take the arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. I love that you brought the Shakespeare reference. Thank you. Twitch watches Pokemon. I watched a little bit. What if you put F dot in the first period logo, but the dot is also the dot in I? I'm a genius. Hire me. That's literally what the logo is. In fact, the dot on the I and the F are the same color to differentiate for people that don't get it. No shots were fired at Mesmerize. Anuki. No shots were fired at Anuki, but I would fire shots at the Anuki. Keanu Reeves does Keanu Reeves all the time. Very true. Keanu Reeves does Keanu Reeves all the time. Vince Vaughn, for the most part, does Vince Vaughn. Ryan Reynolds does a lot of Ryan Reynolds. In fact, Ryan Reynolds works as Deadpool because he plays Ryan Reynolds. I'm just a natural. What can I say? I'm just a natural. What up? You're a kook? Oh, that's how you say your name. That's kind of funny. Yo, if you ordered ATR, I hope you're not kidding, because I already have my F. Cog jersey. So I expect an F. Eager jersey on the way. I expect it. So I hope you're not fucking around, ATR God. Now that you said it, I expect it. Do I play games other than Smite? I'll be playing the hell out of The Division. I used to play high-level World of Warcraft, PvE. I like Magic the Gathering. You can't really see it because I guess my chat's in the way. I like Magic cards. I've been playing some Hearthstone. And I really like first-person, or I really like single-player games. I like narratives like that. I also play Counter-Strike. I don't really play too much 1.6, or I don't really play too much Go. Because it requires, honestly, like, I'm very rarely just playing a game. I'm usually doing something else as well, and you kind of need to be focused. I have not, DJ. I have not heard anything about it, honestly. But to be fair, I don't really talk to any of those people on a day-to-day basis. Esports is in a separate building. No faith in Dig? Huh. Dig is up? Oh, shit. Yeah. I don't want to answer, actually, my relegation, because both European relegation teams look good. Leftovers end. No, Dig doesn't have to. It's Mirren's Injustice. Dig doesn't have to. Predictions for today's matches. Neilma and Team Flex will be a good one that doesn't end in 3 matches or 3 games. Problem Solved will be one that ends in 3 games. So, I want F. ATR. I want F. Just like that. What do I think of Allied as a caster? He's great. I enjoy what Allied does. Today I get a chance to cast with him. Should be pretty exciting. I like that Allied brings himself to the cast. I like things like Dang Krakens and Dan's game. You know, he's got his own style. Like I said, I mean, I would never be caught dead saying Dan's game. It's just that my style, but, you know, I have a style. Adonis has a, everybody has a style. And it's very easy to not have a style as a commentator, which is an odd thing to say, but it's very easy to just be like, all I do is say what's on screen, and Allied is very comfortable. So I like that he's so comfortable. What the hell is this? Oh, he's got his own dance game. But yeah, I like what Allies does. Allied's level of gameplay adds a ton of value to the cast. I mean, I don't know about that. Allied, and I mean, I'm sure it will present itself, but Allied hasn't really said anything yet that goes, oh man, good thing we have a pro player on the scene. He pretty much, like, everything Allied said is something that Adonis and I have agreed with and would have said in general. So I don't know about, like, what I like having a pro player is less about the knowledge, because I think the knowledge is generally there from our commentary staff, especially when it comes to Adonis and DM. But what I like having a pro player around for is the feeling stuff, because I can't research what it feels like to be a mid laner with 2 deaths and a Doom Orb. I can tell you mathematically he doesn't need to sell it. I can tell you that, I can tell you that the Jotun start on Nemesis makes more sense than rushing into Chins, but I can't tell you why it feels better to go Chins. I'm not that guy. I haven't played there. So when it comes to the knowledge and the gameplay, just information, that's not really why I'm excited to have Allied around. I get excited for having Allied around just because he's a different level of thought than a lot of our commentators have been at, which I think is a lot of fun. But with that said, Allied gets the cast today. I don't know which match he'll be casting, but he'll be commentating with me, which should be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. And it should be good as far as that's concerned. So make sure you tune in. 1 p.m. twitch.tv/Smite Game. I am going to try and get a nap, maybe drink some Pepto-Bismol, and not be so sick. Or at least be able to fake it. I mean, here's something. Here, I'll give you the... Hello and welcome to the SPL. My name's F. Joined here by Allied. We're going to get a couple of our matches on today. It's relegations. I can fake it, but I don't know how much gas I have in the tank, because I'm hurting. I'm kind of sick. So we'll see. We'll see. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I definitely love you for it. I'm going to play a quick commercial, and then I'm going to get to getting. So I will catch you guys later on. Actually, so here's the deal. Before I go, I wanted to ask you guys. Yes, it is Eastern. Suck my dick. Hilarious. But so, what's the best time for first period? Like, we're in the morning because it's a hilarious, like, pun, right? And this is the original way back when. This is when we started it. But I got similar, if not more, viewers when that day when my internet went down last week. We aired at night, and the viewership was generally the same. What's good for you guys? Like, 8 a.m. is probably too early. Would 9 a.m. be better? 10 a.m.? Would nighttime be better? This is the best time? This is the time? Okay. All right. This is the best time. Because one of the reasons I like the morning is because we also get the Europeans in. So I might push things back by an hour. So, because what happens is the Europeans get to watch, but the North Americans don't get to. But a lot of the North Americans complain. So, you know what it is? 9 a.m. 9 a.m. might work out. 9 a.m. is just an hour later. It's just an hour later. And Europe should still be able to watch. And honestly, you know what I could do? I could show it at 9 a.m. and then I could just sort of like rebroadcast at 9 p.m., right? Like after SPL, I could just sort of like put on the rebroadcast machine. So, Hi-Rez is NA biased. God, you people are dumb. Anyway, that's it. 9 a.m. might be the good look. I'm going to put the episode on YouTube just like every week. And, type your comment in there, I guess, as to how you want the, what time you want it at. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm going to show a commercial before I leave. I appreciate it if you watch it. Thanks. And I will see you at 1. EST. Twitch.tv/MikeGame. Peace. And much love to you.